What the heck? That was weird. I think Chris is playing a video and it sounded like mine and your voice. And so it really threw me off for a good second. I was like, what is happening right
Is
now?
he listening to the podcast on YouTube or something?
I have no idea. He's in the bathroom right now.
Oh. Well, Chris, if you're listening to this while you're taking a deuce next week, then hey, buddy, what's up?
What you doing, man?
Hey, man. You pooping okay? Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Nerd for No Reason podcast. I am one of your fantastic hosts, Mark.
And I'm sitting shotgun, hanging out with you, Mark. It's
Hooray.
me, your pal, Raven.
That means
How's
you're
it
in charge
going?
of navigation. You got to tell me where to go, who to fire the harpoon at. When
I think I am the number one person you do not want as your navigator. Chris will be like, oh yeah, turn left. And I'm like, oh shit, which way's left? Like, I think about it way too hard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have no sense of direction. Call me Zorro because I get lost so easy. Anyways. That's a One Piece reference for you, my main man.
You know, I keep hearing I've really wanted to watch One Piece, and I have watched maybe 20 episodes, which is not even close to a lot of episodes, relatively speaking.
Oh, no.
And apparently I have to make it past a particular point before it starts getting really, really good. And I don't know where that point is. Because I really enjoyed the live action. That was super fun. And I'm like, man, this is great. And at some point, the anime just, it finds its footing and it is just, boom, sails to the wind. No pun intended. That's a nautical reference, folks. But yeah, it
What?
really takes off, and I want to find that point. I really just want to get past this first season, and I just cannot commit myself to it.
Yeah, good luck with that. I'm not gonna lie to you. It took me, I wanted to watch One Piece, but it was during that time where I was just about to leave for Kentucky, to go do school. And I told Chris, I was like, we can watch it together. So I wouldn't watch it when I was gone. So it was it took me a hot minute to finally get back into One Piece once I moved back to Tennessee. And I've been trucking through it. I've gotten a few, I think I've gotten at 150 something. I haven't watched it in a hot minute just because I've been busy and tired and all the stuff that happens to you when you work all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I really do enjoy One Piece. I got to a point where they sailed upwards into the sky. Skypiea was a fun little arc that I'm still technically on, I think. Trying to think of where I even am. But yeah, no, they create essentially a big ol', not a volcano, but a big gust of water just goes up straight into the sky and they just sail up it, physics. And that was some of the stuff that I was like, all right, I guess this is fine since I'm watching the Fast and Furious movies, so I gotta get ready for that anyways. It's just crazy stuff that you just shut your brain off and go, yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been doing that a lot lately.
Just shutting your brain off?
Just shutting my brain off and just enjoying things. I watched The Meg this weekend, which is weird because usually I don't have enough time to sit down and actually watch a full movie. As weird as it sounds, as we've been watching a movie a week for the past however many weeks now.
Right.
It's weird that I'm like, oh man, I have to make time to watch a movie. I really do. And usually it's the one movie that we do for this podcast. And this week I had extra time to watch The Meg. And that
Nice.
movie is 100%. You have to shut your brain off and be like, yep, there's a big shark that's like Jaws. And he knows things and thinks things. And we're doing it, man. Let's go for it. It's bonkers. It's
Dude, you
crazy.
gotta watch the second one. It gets even more to that point that you're like, I don't understand, but yeah, sure. I agree with everything you guys are doing right now.
Is that just going to be Jason Statham's thing now, where he is just going to be in just these absurd action movies from here on out for the rest of his life? I mean, I'm not mad at it.
I'd be fine with it.
I mean,
I
he's
kind of
doing
like
his
it.
thing. It's a pretty cool niche to be into.
Yeah. Yeah. You should definitely just continue on with his track that he's going with.
Like
Who knows what'll be in next?
a more serious, high budget, like Sharknado monster type movie, you know?
Yeah.
So,
At some point, he's gonna go to space and
oh, good lord.
he's gonna be jumping through like a meteorite, fighting the Rock somehow. Just the helmet on, no spacesuit, and somehow he's just gonna be like, yeah, this is fine. This is cool.
Oh, of course. We don't need spacesuits in space. We were wrong the whole time.
Maybe he's an alien. Who knows?
That's it.
That's how he's so nimble. I feel like aliens would be like pretty loosey-goosey, able to do some of the stuff that you see Jason Statham doing in this movie. What?
Huh?
I don't know.
All right.
My brain just went on such a tangent.
It's okay. I can appreciate it. You still made sense. I appreciate it.
Thanks.
So, all right. Before we get to talking about Fast and Furious, excuse me, the fate of the Furious. Whew. This week was a sad week for the main reason that it was released that on March 1st, Akira Toriyama died. The creator of such most notably for Dragon Ball, the creator of Dragon Ball, and Dragon Quest, and this dude was a multimedia giant. It's wild to even think about the impact that this man had on not only like anime in the early 80s, but how Dragon Ball was like the intro anime for a lot of people my age. Raven, were you ever a fan? I know we've talked about this on the show before, but I can't remember. Were you ever a fan of like Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball series, or like the Dragon Quest games, or like anything that Toriyama has had? Well, yeah, let's just start with Dragon Ball before we get to like the meat or the other stuff that he's done.
I actually wasn't allowed to watch that when I was younger. It was like my grandparents, mainly my grandmother, was one of those that was like, parental controls, past this specific time, you can't watch whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was never able to watch it. Chris keeps talking to me about wanting to watch it, and I'm like, yeah, I get that. I would probably enjoy watching it at some point, but, I'm already in One Piece. I got a bunch of other shows that I got into one of those things lately where I've just been like, I don't know what to watch, so I'm just going to rewatch multiple shows that I've already watched at least 2 or 3 times. And then that's just what I've been doing, even though I definitely could make time for Dragon Ball. But yeah, no. Sorry. I do understand, like, the culture around Dragon Ball and stuff like that, and how big and impactful it was into the community of really starting out anime and stuff like that. So
it was,
yeah,
it was definitely a thing. Like, oh man, way back in the day, back in the mid 80s, late 80s, early 90s in particular, when anime in America was still this niche thing before things like Final Fantasy and Pokemon became big, um, you know, I remember seeing, uh, oh man, I can't remember if it was a comic or a magazine. Maybe I saw it at a comic shop. I'm trying to remember exactly where, but again, this is 35, 40 years ago, maybe. Um, we'll say 35. Couldn't have been 40. We'll say 35. Where I was in a comic shop and they had a Shonen Jump magazine from Japan. And I was like, of course, I'm like fascinated. Like, what is this? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. These comics that are in this magazine were just captivating. And I didn't know it at the time, but that was where I first saw Goku. I first saw a Dragon Ball Z thing. I was like, this is incredible. What is this? It's so different from anything I ever saw. And then once Toonami, which was this great anime focused block of cartoons that aired on old school Cartoon Network in the afternoons.
Mm-hmm.
Once they started showing Dragon Ball, it was the thing. And it was late 90s, early 2000s, and they were every day. I mean, it was event television for anime nerds, man. We're watching Goku and Frieza battle it out on planet Namek, and when he turned Super Saiyan, there was a shift in the culture. I don't care what anyone says. The first time they aired that and we saw that and we were like, what is going on? This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Oh, shit's about to go down. Fantastic. It's hard to put into words what Akira Toriyama did with Dragon Ball and how it influenced all culture. And for a brief period of time this week, something truly special happened. The internet was together on something.
Yeah.
If there's one thing to truly be said about this man is that his death, anytime someone posted something, even in the most cynical of places, i.e. my local news station on Facebook, Jesus Christ, just no matter the topic, they always have to be cynical.
Fair.
This entire comment section was just rest in power. R.I.P. my dude. We watched Dragon Ball. Like, unanimously love. I'm like, wow. This man brought Middle Georgia together on a Facebook post. And just the other stuff that he's had his hand in over the years, the Dragon Quest series I brought up before, Chrono Trigger, one of my absolute favorite role-playing games ever is a game called Blue Dragon that was released on the Xbox 360. A lot of people didn't like it. I loved it. It was so much fun. It was 3 discs. I played the hell out of it. Mm-hmm. There's so much more stuff that he's done. And he also has another Dragon Ball series coming out in next year, I think.
Oh.
So we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah.
But he was 68 and he will be missed, man. I mean, it's wild to think that animes like One Piece and Attack on Titan and all these other things that have come out, especially in the last 10 years, owe a huge debt to Akira Toriyama and just the outpour of what's the word I'm looking for here? Not acknowledgments, sentiments are
Mm-hmm.
just pouring out from all over the place, and it's really a fantastic thing to see. And Raven, you need to watch Dragon Ball after you get done with One Piece. Go watch the Kai version because
I don't know what this after you get done with One Piece thing is.
When you decide you want to take a break from One Piece, go watch Dragon Ball. You can watch the Kai version way quicker, and you get all the highlights. If you really want to go through the paces, watch all however many seasons of the original, like 250 episodes, but there's a lot of filler episodes in there. I
I
dare
mean,
say that
250's not that bad.
there's probably, I don't know, I dare say 10 episodes in one arc where it's just they don't do nothing. And that's frustrating when I'm when I'm at work trying to watch this on the work TV way back in the day in the military
Yeah.
going, they're like, get to work. I'm like, hold on a second. Something's going to happen this episode. And then 30 minutes later, I'm like, God damn it, nothing happened. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Around Christmas time, my best friend, came home for the holidays, and Chris and I met up with her and her husband, and we were at dinner, and she was talking about, oh yeah, well, we started picking back up on Dragon Ball, but apparently he was just like skipping arcs, and so Chris would be like, well, what about this one? And she was like, no, we didn't watch that. And Chris got so upset with her husband and was like, what do you mean you didn't have her watch this arc? Because you're missing some important stuff. And he's like, it's fine. I just gave her the rundown. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I could never. I get that some people, like, even in One Piece, they'll like skip arcs because they're like, nothing important happened here. It's fine. Uh, I I couldn't. I couldn't just imagine just skipping like essentially a whole season of a show and then being like, all right, where are we at next? But yeah.
I think Dragon Ball is the only one where that I can think of right off the top of my head. Maybe One Piece too, because even the few that I've watched, I'm like, okay, yeah, you could probably cut these 5 episodes down into maybe two.
Yeah.
But Dragon Ball, like they've gone through and re-recorded and redubbed it and chopped it up so many times at this point. They've got it pretty streamlined where it's like, okay, watch this. This will get you everything. You'll get all the excitement without any of the filler. Boom, 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 go. Um, and it, I can only think of like maybe one or two filler episodes where you're like, oh yeah, those are just fun. You could tell those are like mid-season things where they're just like, ah yeah, we put some fun shit in here for you guys.
Yeah.
But other than that, like Kai is probably the way to watch it.
All right. Noted. We'll watch it at some point. We'll get there.
All right, are you ready to? You ready to make a car pun and get into this movie? Oh boy, did
Yeah.
I just fumbled that so hard.
It's okay. I
Uh,
was also trying to think of a good like thing probably all day and I could not think of a good one. So,
in my mind, I was like, oh man, I'm trying to think of something new, and but we've already done like buckle up and rev your engines and do all this. But yeah, actually, I came across my Facebook timeline. It was like, hey, however many years ago you reposted this, and it was the Fast and Furious. I can't remember which one came out. Maybe it was 7, and I said I cannot wait until Monday morning when this movie makes $1 bajillion over the weekend, and the headlines are already typed up now that says Fast and Furious races to #1 in the box office.
oh, of course.
Fast and Furious crosses the finish line with $7.3 bajillion. Yeah, I know that those headlines are already written for Fast X Part 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's such an easy hit for them though.
It is. So, are you ready to get into it? We're talking about The Fate and the Furious this weekend, ladies and gentlemen. And I have feelings.
Ooh, fun. Fun, fun, fun.
So, Raven, I will ask you the question that I ask every week. Did you like it?
It was interesting to watch Dom go rogue and basically just be like, yeah, I know my wife's a part of that crew, but later days, this this movie was interesting, and I'm very ready to hear your thoughts on it because like there were some really good stupid stunts that I was like, okay, there's a lot. Uh, Not really sure how I felt about this movie, whereas last week we were like, yo, this movie was a banger. And this week I'm like, there's a lot. There is a lot going on.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
I think that um, after we watched Fast 7 and we were like, yo, I mean, we talked for an hour 45 last week, almost solely on Fast 7. I mean, we sped through the third act. No pun intended. Like we barreled through it. So such action-packed craziness going on. In this movie, frankly, I was bored. I was watching this movie and I think they really tried to bring it down a notch, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, it just didn't seem. It was such a departure, and they're trying to act and give Dom all these scenes, and because Vin Diesel was trying his best to act his ass off, and I felt like they were trying to replace Paul Walker too, and that's a hole that can't be filled. And it just felt like a I don't want to say a bad Fast and Furious movie, but if it didn't have the same cast that it did, we would be like, these people are clearly trying to make a Fast and Furious movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of the way I feel about it. I mean, let's just go ahead and kind of get into the beginning of it, I guess. I mean, let's start breaking it down. The first part was fine. When we're in Cuba, I'm like, rock and roll, man. We're fast and furious this thing up.
You got a boat engine and a car,
Right.
Cuban Nos,
Cuban
uh,
Nos.
you know, Ghost Rider zooming around.
Right.
Yeah, I had to remind Chris that, like, in Cuba, before, everything got less crazy hectic these past couple of years when they're, what was his name? I can't think of it.
Fidel Castro.
Yes. Once all that, like, cleared up with him, um, I was like, yeah, all the cars are, like, still super old school. And Chris was like, oh. And so then he's, like, looking in the scene and he's like, oh, I didn't even know that. I was like, yeah, it's one of those things. So it was interesting to look at that, like, just as, like, a timepiece, to be honest.
Yeah. And that
But
was
yeah.
I really enjoyed this first scene because it was kind of a clever way to. It really felt like a combination of the old Fast and Furious mixed with the kind of the new outlandishness of the Fast franchise.
Yeah.
Like we got a legit kind of street race that wasn't a quarter mile, but you know what I'm saying? Like it was a good street race that, by the end of it, where the car is on fire, Dom's driving backwards, and he jumps out. It's just this fireball rolling into the ocean. And you're like, yeah, all right. He's like, I don't want your car. You got my respect, or whatever the hell that line was, and everyone's cheering for Dom like he's like, yeah, Dom, it's a cool guy. He's a man of the people.
He could run this country.
Right.
I feel like that's how Vin Diesel just, like, wants uh people to, like, think about Dominic. It's just like, he does no wrong. He could rule us. He's the true champion.
Right, but he's clearly a kingpin of some sort.
Yeah. Oh. Especially in this movie. Especially here.
So, and then, like, I guess they're on their honeymoon, okay? I'm kind of confused about this because I thought they already had their honeymoon, but I guess this is honeymoon part 2 because, she just got her memory back. She's like, yeah, I love you, Dom. Let's go on another honeymoon. Let's spend
Hey, when you don't have kids, and you just, you don't work because you just have crazy amounts of money, you can just go on as many honeymoons as you want, Mark.
That's true. That's true. So, but then Charlize Theron shows up with dreadlocks, and this begins her entrance into the Fast franchise with completely fucked up hair. Just go ahead and strap in. It was bad this one. Next week, you're going to come. I expect a text from you next week when you see Charlize Theron's hair and be like, what the fuck did they do to this poor lady?
Oh, no. Oh.
So yeah, she converts Don. She's like, yo, come on, look at this weird picture on my phone. You have to come with me. And Dom takes off. Buh. No. He don't take off yet. I'm sorry. See, I'm mixing all this up. Because ultimately none of this shit matters. It's so wild to me. Raven. Oh my God. This is so weird. As I'm like, honestly, last week I got so caught up in the movie that I didn't take notes. This week I didn't take notes because I just wasn't into it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, so now we flash to The Rock. He's at soccer practice. What'd you think of these little girls on the soccer team?
Dude was being a soccer dad, teaching them warrior chants. That other team that was just like looking at him like, I don't want to do this. I don't know if they're just fucking weird or if they're actually going to kick our ass. It was so funny, but that honestly feels like something that, like, if The Rock's character was a real person, something that he would legitimately do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Be like, girls, this is going to be so cool. It's going to scare the other kids. Parents are going to, question it, but they're going to let you do it. What?
There was a movie. Oh, it must have been Vin Diesel and not The Rock. Vin Diesel and The Rock both, sometime around like the early to mid 2000s, they did a string of movies where they were like, oh, let's put this beefy guy with this cute, adorable kid, and they're going to get into shenanigans. And I think it must have been Vin Diesel who was
the secret agent that was caring for that little family.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
the pacifier.
That's it. Now, I say that to say I want a Hobbs movie where he has to take care of his soccer team as a special agent. But like all the girls, like I don't want the girls to be like helpless and stuff. Like I want them to be completely competent. To be like, no, we are seriously about to wreck shop. And that's what I want. I don't want to be like, oh no, Hobbs, save us. No, I want them to save The Rock. I want The Rock to lose a fight. And then these girls like use their brain because they're obviously not strong enough because they're like, 12-year-old girls fighting grown men, that they figure out like, oh, hey, we can beat them. Like a Home Alone meets the pacifier. They save The Rock and then give The Rock a big action scene at the end where he just, pummels everybody. Give them that. That would be such a fun. Hollywood, give us a call. We're available.
That would be a very interesting movie to watch. I think I'd be down for it. Yeah.
Justin Lin directs. You get the same people who did Fast and the Furious, and you get them to direct. You make it bonkers. Just
do you think that they would get those little like kid cars that the like little Jeeps and stuff?
Oh my God.
They just have the girls riding around in those, but somehow they'd hook them up with NOS.
Oh,
so they're like so zooming down the sidewalk.
You know what? Just put them in regular cars. Make that a gag. Be like, oh man, I thought you knew what you were doing. It's like, I'm 13. How would I know how to drive? What is this button doing? And they hit the NOS and they're just like, ah.
In a limo.
Yes. That's such a fun idea. Oh, I want to see that so bad now.
That'd be a good time. That'd be a really good movie. Oh my gosh.
So I'm trying to remember, like, at what point did he lose his federal agent job last movie? I guess he did because he was over there starting shit before the runway. And he's pointing the gun at, like, that general from another country. And it was like, okay, yeah, you're not one of us anymore. Or something like that.
You should fuck you. Yeah, it, I can't really remember because I know at like the beginning of the movie, dude's over there like, hey, come on, I need you to do a job for me. And then he's like, look, we're coaching, cheer on the kids. And then that, at the end, he just like sighs at his daughter and she's like, gotta go to work. Yeah. So I was like, is he still in the police force? Is he not? I wasn't very, you know, I was also in one of those things.
I mean,
But then you get the whole crew back together.
right, and we just jump into an action scene. Like, we don't get, it was like, we need you to take this. And he goes and takes it, and we don't get any, we come in at the tail end of what seems like it was a really fun chase. And we show up at just the end when Ludacris releases a
giant wrecking ball on the Berlin police.
And Tyrese is just being Rome. Rome is roaming it up. Yeah. This scene just really felt like we came in at the end of the scene. It's like, you know what happened. We'll give you a little
some crazy stuff went on. Just the usual. Until Dominic Toretto goes rogue.
Dominic Toretto, no. It seems like every single one of my show notes since Tokyo Drift, maybe even Tokyo Drift. Yes, it was. Yeah, I just write so and so, no, because at some point we have that moment.
Yeah, no, you definitely have it in this movie when, we lose Elena and you're like, no, she wasn't innocent.
Right.
Yeah. That whole scene was just wild. And then you get The Rock in fucking handcuffs and the orange jumpsuit, and he can just, casually break through them because that's what he just does.
Mm-hmm.
How are they going to hold this man in a prison like that when he's over there just like hitting the walls just to be like, I don't have a punching bag in here, so
I'm just gonna punch the concrete, rip this concrete stool off the wall.
You know that Hobbs was walking in there and all the prison guards were like, fuck.
Oh yeah.
This guy.
Oh, 100%.
Gonna beat the shit out of us.
Dude, the way he picked up Little Nobody and just in one fluid movement just picked him up and slung him up against the wall sideways. Man. I was like, oh, that's great. That was a funny little scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That prison where they kept The Rock and Jason Statham, that was the same set that they used for Deadpool 2.
Oh, is it?
I noticed it this time, and I saw it, I was like, wait a second. That's the same place. I don't know where in the world it's at, if it's a set or if it is an actual place. I'm trying to pull it up now. But, yeah, I saw it, I was like, wait a second. That's set up the exact... It is the same place. Okay. Yeah, pretty neat little thing. When the prison break happens, I got to give it up to Jason Statham because this man, I don't know what stunt team he trained with, but boy, my man was getting it. He was doing the do.
Yeah, no, Chris was like, oh yeah, no, he's super cool. And I was like, yeah, no, I want just a movie on him just doing some crazy shit. And just, what are you doing that you can constantly just be like, fight, and parkour, and, just insanity all around. How are you mentally? Are you just constantly stressed? What do you do to desensitize yourself and relax, my good sir? uh that one dude that like walks up to the Rock and is like, "I've been waiting to fight with you," and pulls out a shank. He's like,
Uh,
"Keep waiting, bitch." Yeah, that was a fun little fight scene because there was so much chaos going on, but even still, slides and jumps and all that good stuff. Just to end up, seeing the crew handcuffed, and Mr. Nobody's like, "What the fuck are you doing?
right.
Why would you do this? I told you to bring them in. They're our friends." Rome's been there for 4 hours. His ribs are showing. He's hungry. When he said that, I was like, oh, thank God. Hungry Roman's back. He wasn't super snacky in that last movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had a lot of stuff going on.
Man.
This seems like where they really kind of wanted to give all the actors some acting things to do. Um, F. Gary Gray was the director this time, not James Wan or Justin Lin. F. Gary Gray, who, to be fair, is a very noted and accomplished director, but it just seemed like this just was not the movie for him.
Yeah.
You know, we should have stuck with Justin Lin or James Wan or whatever, and that would have been that would have made it feel more like a Fast and Furious movie. And like I said, I don't want to take anything away from F. Gary Gray because this man directed Straight Outta Compton. This man is directed music videos for years and years and years. As far as I'm concerned, he is an absolute legend. This was just the wrong fit for him. But so this scene where they're all in, I can't remember what they call the base. Nowhere? Do they call it nowhere? Middle of nowhere?
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
We kind of like really start kind of getting a feel for Scott Eastwood and his character, Little Nobody. What do we think of him? Is he supposed to be our Brian replacement?
I don't know. He just felt like a little bitch, to be honest. Everyone just kind of shat on him the whole
Yeah.
movie. So, I don't know. I feel like he's just another form of like, hey, you gotta listen to what I say, and then nobody does. He's basically like under Roman
Yeah,
as
he is.
appreciation value. Like, they at least appreciate Roman just a little more than this guy. But, also, RIP to Roman and his, need to be, one of the crew when he got placed number 11. He's not even in the top 10 of Berlin's Most Wanted.
Yeah, you know what? I will say that was a joke that paid off for me, and I'm not upset by it.
It was good.
When at the end he does something, he's like, number 11, my ass. Yeah, you know what? Good job on you, Mr. Writer Man. That was great. So, let's see. I love Kurt Russell in this movie. I think Kurt Russell in this franchise was great as kind of like this kind of schmarmy know-it-all kind of dude. We talked about Roman. Roman was great. Yeah, it was there. It's weird because like half the performances are really, really good, and the other half just kind of shines so brightly as being not good that it kind of takes me out of the movie.
Yeah.
So, when Charlize Theron Cypher, I got to start calling her by the name in this movie. I'm bad about that. When Cypher and Dom burst into nowhere and they just wreck shop and Cypher kisses Dom. That was such a weird scene. It was so weird. I don't even know what they were going for.
Oh, because she wants to, like, Chris was like, I feel like Vin Diesel just wrote that in just so he could, like, kiss her. Have, like, a good little, like, make-out scene. And I was like, I mean, That's fair. It did feel like a little off. I feel like she was, it was like obviously supposed to be like, fuck you, Letty, I got your mans. But like, at some point, he's gonna go back. Did you
Right.
just expect him to be like, I have my baby, and it's just me and my son now. This is our family.
You weren't
Like,
even You weren't even in the game. What does he say at the end? Ah,
oh, I might have taken it. Hold on. No, I didn't put it in my notes. Dang it. I don't know. But yeah, uh,
you
you're
know,
just gonna turn your back on family like that? And then that's when like the whole kiss thing happens, and you're like, what?
yeah. What are we doing?
What?
Uh,
What?
and then we get to the plane. Okay, here's the whole timeline of this whole thing where like now we actually have to do math.
Here
Okay,
it goes.
all right. So we get up on the plane. Elena's on the plane. Okay, Elena's on the plane, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's she doing up there?" And then we figure out there's a baby, and it's Dom's. And they said like, "What's the baby's name?" And she's like, "Oh, his name is Marcos, but that's his middle name. We'll let his father name him." And Vin Diesel cries. He was trying so hard. This man, listen, I know that there are certain things that they like some type of something that they basically blow in actors' eyes to make them cry on command in movies. It's fine. I
Yeah.
get it. Part of the magic, no problem. But Vin Diesel cannot emote enough
No.
to like
Dude,
convey.
he has literally like one mode, and that's it. It's literally just big tough guy. Sure, you can be like a little like romance type, but it's not even like any different from like I could kick your ass to hey girl, what you doing later tonight? Like what? I don't know. Yeah. It felt weird cuz I was like you can't cry. Anyways,
Now, how old, Raven, do you think that that kid is
you know
in
what?
that movie?
That's a wonderful question cuz when Chris was like, "How does she have a baby? This timeline is not making sense." Brian's kid was older than that baby when we saw it in the last movie. And, you know, some time has definitely like passed. That kid, uh, we definitely didn't see it walk. And all it said was like Papa and like cooing noises.
Right.
So this thing is like, I don't know how babies work. I'm not gonna lie. I don't
Okay.
know how old this thing is.
So, so I'm gonna say that that kid is probably about between 12 and 18 months, a year to a year and a half old. Okay.
Okay.
We don't see it walk, but it could it looks like it's big enough to probably stumble around. Okay, and because babies, you know, their hair comes in at different time, and some kids are born with just massive amounts of hair.
Yeah, but he got the bald genetics from Dom, obviously.
But so I'm just going to assume this kid is probably hovering somewhere around the year mark. Okay, so at what point did she get pregnant by Dom? We'll say 2 years ago. Okay, so now we're like, I'm sitting here trying to figure out when. So if we like when Letty left a couple years ago and he ran into her and was like, "Oh hey, how you doing?" You know, what did they hook up off screen at that point and go, "Oh well, Letty's not in the picture anymore." You know,
Letty's dead.
before we have
Now
to
I
go to
need someone.
Dubai.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm going to say this is like the last movie
Oh,
when Letty was like, "Oh hey, I have to go because I'm not the person you want me to be," and he's like, "I should have busted this headstone up a while ago," and she's like, "Nope, later," and then shows back up in the movie with no explanation later on, like 20 minutes
yeah.
later. that's the only time that I can think that they had to have hooked up after he went to the hospital to see The Rock, and then like they hook up and it's like boom, they had sex. You know, Letty's not around anymore because she went off and had to find herself or whatever. It's the only time because they
Yeah.
lead to so much more time has passed because that's clearly not a 3-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Chris and I were definitely discussing it, and I was just like, you know, it's part of that movie magic where it just magically makes sense, but doesn't.
Right.
Also, how are you just gonna not actually name your child, and your child is like, at least a year old,
Right.
and you're just like, at some point you'll have an actual name. We'll see though.
And then he puts the necklace up on the thing, and the necklace is another plot device again. Like,
There's a lot of crazy stuff going on.
right.
It doesn't have to make sense. It'll just it'll figure itself out.
I put I put in my notes at this point. I'm already not invested in this movie as I was the last one. I feel like coming off of Fast 7, this movie is super slow. I miss Brian, cuz.
Of course. R.I.P. the realist.
R.I.P. the realist.
But he's off there having a great time with Mia and their kids.
It's so wild to me.
Hypothetically.
It's so wild to me that they do not kill him off in this movie. That they don't, like, just completely write him out. They don't, like, just never mention him, which would be the easiest thing to do.
I mean, they do, like, they're like, should we call Brian? And everyone's like, no. And I was like, damn. Does Mia ever show back up in any of the movies?
Yes.
Okay. Chris and I were curious about that because he also hasn't watched the movies. And I was like, bro, I don't even know what they would do. It would literally just have to be like, Dom's on life support and she's going to be like, I'm here, family, and then he's alive.
Right. The gymnastics they do in the next couple of movies to excuse Brian from not being in this movie instead of just literally not referencing him.
Yeah.
Because at this point, and especially like 9 and 10, we know what we're getting into. Like, we get it. So just have Mia show up and don't even mention Brian. Like, just,
yeah.
Like, seriously.
Somebody's got to take care of the kids. She can just show up. It's fine.
She can just show up and be like, hey, they don't even have to mention that she has 2 kids. They're like, oh, Mia's here. Be like, yep, I'm here. What's going on? We don't need to talk about Brian. We don't need to do none of that because that really shines a big, bright spotlight on the cast hole.
On an opening hole. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, we had this whole weird scene of them trying to get, launch missile codes. You got cars getting hacked, cars falling from a parking garage, and people are just watching their cars. Skirp.
I will say this: they did actually dump a bunch of cars out of a parking garage in Cleveland for that scene.
That's so scary.
That was a real thing that happened. I do appreciate that. This whole scene right here was pretty awesome. Again, Dom not being able to lose was really just so glaring in this movie.
Yeah. They went to gang up on him. And they were doing the absolute most, but of course, he's going to do it even harder.
Right.
Because
he's going to take down 6 cars at once with his own car.
Okay, but where'd it go? Letty with the side drift? Literally just the side of her car just that was hilarious. Who taught you people how to drive? I need an instructor. But yeah, no. Dom literally, like, he's burning rubber, legitimately. Destroys the poor Bentley. Flings cars together. He busts his own car door off, and it goes flying at the rock. And just everything all in that scene, all for him to get the little case, start running. We think our man gets shot. R.I.P. Shaw. But the way that he gets hit was so funny. That he, like, flung his body. I laughed at it for, like, 5 minutes. I was just like, that was, like, the most dramatic shoot ever.
It was.
If that... Man. And then Letty really hit him with the, you love me and you won't shoot me. And he was just like, damn, she's right. I was like, you could literally just shoot her in the leg.
Right.
And then just take the case. And then that way you're not in any form of trouble.
We've established that these characters heal super fast. I mean, The Rock was only in the hospital the last movie for probably like 4 days, the last movie, before he was like, cool, I'm going to flex out of my cast. Like,
man.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they got all kinds of technology. I'm sure they could have written that completely off. Oh, man, shot me in my leg. Like, oh, we got nanobots to fix that now because we're nobodies. Yeah, we could have fixed that. What do you think of the inclusion of, oh, geez, why am I blanking on this lady's name? Queenie. Oh, come on, man. The lady who was Shaw's mother.
Shaw's mom?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That was an interesting little touch.
What is her name?
Because I was like, what? Because I was like, who the heck is this? He's over here just talking to this British woman, and she's like, I'm super thirsty. Talk fast. That was, I was like, I don't understand what's happening here. And then, you get the whole, like, scene where she's in the ambulance after, I guess, giving Narcan to Shaw. Like, he technically got shot, but he didn't have any bullet wounds. But, he revived back because he was like, and then she's like, you got to take your brother with you. I don't want to take him. He sucks. And then she starts, like, fake crying, and he's like, damn, Dom really got my mom involved. I was like, how do you even know who her mom is? Or his mom is? Because, like, you couldn't track him down for shit. How did you find her? It was interesting. I don't even know what to say past that. Just interesting.
Oh, this is bugging the hell out of me that I cannot find this lady's name.
Rip.
Forget it. She's a very famous actress, and I don't know.
I can't think of it. Sorry. How about our time in Russia?
How about our time in Russia? Here's the thing. Again, Michelle Rodriguez, I love her. I've really become a huge fan of hers in these movies because that fight with her in the control room, I'm like, you are fantastic. She is just the underrated goat of these films. She does the scene in the alley that we were just talking about where it's like, you're not going to shoot me. She does this little thing right before the scene cuts off where she's staring at Dom and Dom walks off and she just does this kind of face change where it's like instant sadness where she's like, no one's watching. Yeah. And she has like this, like, it's only for like 2 seconds where she just makes this face of just utter heartbreak. I'm like, holy shit, Michelle Rodriguez.
She's pretty good at it.
You're way too good for this movie. Okay.
Also, I feel bad for Letty's character, period, because she gets the absolute shit beaten out of her whenever she has an actual fight scene.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, how, ma'am, are you okay? But she, like, gives it back, and she's just like, Anyways, I could never. I'd probably get hit like one time and I'd be like, okay, I'm done. I'm so sorry. Please, please just take whatever you want. Just already crying. Uh,
So Russia as a whole, man, I guess because that they kind of ruined this in the trailer for the movie where it was uh uh the sub was in the trailer.
mm,
You're just kind of like, all right, we know why we're here, man. Let's just get to the sub.
you
You
got
know,
carjack a submarine.
right. So, yeah, they try to hijack a submarine. They're driving Lamborghinis on the ice, um, which honestly, that tracks for Roman because they kind of make fun of him about it. Like, okay,
Oh,
yeah,
of
this is
course.
what you get for trying to be fly instead of functional. Um,
Doing donuts on the fucking ice because you don't have traction.
right. Uh,
Also, how did the submarine get in the water?
they drop it. I mean,
How?
I
No.
mean,
That thing was on land. It was hooked up. And the next thing I know, it's just in the water. And I was like, nope, absolutely not.
I mean, you see, it had a blade on the back of it, and it propelled it forward like a
Oh,
propeller.
okay. Okay, okay.
Uh, yeah, I don't even know at this point how. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm trying to remember how Ludacris got out of the sub. Um, yeah, there was a scene where they get out of the sub right before the thing drops in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for it's this movie's so weird and wild to me because we're trying to do like a bunch of things, and at this point I'm like, I'm so kind of lost, muddled up in the details of this because we have to Cypher his got Dom at the same time. Like the Shaw brothers are infiltrating this plane. There's Ferraris on the ice. The Rock is shooting, or Ludacris is shooting missiles at people from his plane. The sub's chasing after people. Now Dom's up on this ridge while this other guy is trying to snipe people. And for what? I genuinely cannot tell you what the MacGuffin was in this movie. What we're after. It's not God's Eye. We're using God's Eye to get something else, but I guess we're trying to launch nukes
Yeah.
for reasons.
For respect? Is that what
Yes.
she said?
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Ah,
was weird because there was like no real like, well, who are you wanting like this respect and stuff from? And she's like, you know. And we're like, no, we don't.
right.
Last movie, a lot did go on, but it made sense. This movie, not so much.
Right. It's
We did
like
get some like cool scenes and whatnot because you had like Roman's car like started falling into the ice, and he's like, Tej, which is adorable. That he's like, hey man, I know I talk a lot of shit to you, but you the real one, so come save me.
but to be fair, like that scene where the Ferrari's falling in the ice, and you know Tyrese is freaking out, or excuse me, Rome's freaking out, and he's calling Tej, and he's like, hold on to your door, and boom, he
Man,
pops back out. I was genuinely excited for this, like, yes, cool,
that
and
was that was a good scene.
bobsledding, and he's just screaming, and it's like, hold on, I don't think he can hear you, but okay, and and then Rome gets up and smacks the dude with the door and has this little hero moment. I'm like, fuck yeah, Rome. Go
That
for
was
it.
when he was like, number 11, my
Right.
ass. And that cracked me up. And then, and then he's just like standing there like, what am I gonna do? And the Rock drives over to him and says, hey, shrinkage, get in.
And then they shoot a missile at the Rock. And the Rock is like, take the wheel. And he starts ice skating and pushes the fucking missile. Like,
Yeah, no.
yeah. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know. But then Dom gets the word, like, hey, we got the baby. We're out. See you later. Which I will say, that scene in the plane where Jason Statham is wrecking shop, awesome.
Dude, with a fucking baby
With a
carrier?
baby.
Man. I know. I was watching that and I was like, I feel like moms would watch this and be like, he's my hero. I wish I could just like, do anything while I'm carrying my baby. Oh man,
And
that was so good.
Dom gets word, and he goes, uh, I'm trying to remember the exact line. It was like, what are we supposed to do now? He's like, you need to start praying. Oh, Rome says that. He's like, all we do is start praying. And all of a sudden, here comes Vehicle Jesus.
Oh my god.
Dom shows up out of nowhere. And I'm like, this scene was specifically written by Vin Diesel. You cannot tell me anything different.
Dude, what was up with all of his cars having some form of like fire going on? It was like, hey guys, you wanna try something different this movie? What if all of my cars just like, they can either produce fire, which is cool, or they like catch on fire, which is also cool? I think that would really make this movie a lot bigger. Man.
I want you to write it into the story where my car makes fire and a heat-seeking missile comes after it. It doesn't have to make sense.
Dude, the way that the sub would just like pop out of the like ice frigid water, and then the Rock goes, we're gonna need a bigger truck. I was like, bro, this is not it. Take that stupid line back and just keep driving. Letty, on the other hand, was like, yo, I might get fucked up, not gonna lie. And poor homegirl next to her is like, are we gonna make this? And she's like, we gonna try. And then her tires just pop out, and she, does a classic jump over the ice, and look, we're all better. Now the whole crew's back. Everyone, move. I'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
When he started leading that stupid heat-seeking missile, which The Rock also just knew somehow that it was a heat-seeking missile, because he literally was like, that's a heat-seeking missile. And everyone was just like, oh, we should get away from it. Sir, how did you look at that and know what it was? I need someone to explain that to me. Anyways.
I can only assume this. Here's what I'm going to say. I can only assume that out of the fancy stuff that they had in their vehicles, that it probably popped up and was like, and probably gave them some kind of identification of like, hey, it's this kind of missile.
Jesus.
That's how I'm going to write that off. I'm not even really upset by that, because I feel like out of like the next 3 minutes of film, that is the least egregious thing that happens.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean,
I think that Dominic having a heat-seeking missile chase him as he drives up into a snowbank, does a little back, and then somehow leaps over a submarine to where the missile hits the submarine.
Mm-hmm.
But Dom also hits his car a little bit on it. So, there's an extreme, like, collision, explosion thing going on. He's obviously, hey, get your superpowers ready, because this motherfucker is fireproof. His car window was down, and fire just shot all over that car.
Yep.
And then somehow the whole crew was like, we got you. We'll protect you with our cars. You don't need to. We already know his secret powers. We're watching. You guys aren't. That was wild. Absolutely wild.
Yeah. We didn't even talk about this the gratuitous Dominic Toretto wheelie when he takes off. I have to annotate it now. I'm laser focused on this wheelie. When
Oh
he,
no, that's fair. I was like, I think I was starting to like get us like some form of dessert, and I saw it happen, and I didn't have my phone, so I was
okay,
like, shit, wheelie. That is also now a part of the Fast and Furious movies.
it
You have
is.
to have Dominic do a wheelie.
So so after this, I really at this point, I genuinely don't know how we get to the rooftop. Like I guess everything's fine. Like I know him and Michelle Rodriguez have like a little moment, but I don't think there's anything after this where we're like, cool, let's tie it. Like here's what happened to Cypher, and here's this and that, and it's just like boom, we're in
She
a New
got
York.
away because she had the only.
That's right.
Yeah, because
Uh,
she like jumps out of the plane. She's like, later, I've got a thingy thing. Can't think of what the word is, and
parachute.
I feel. Yes, thank you. Felt very dumb. But then, you know, the Shaw brothers are just like, land the plane. Where are you? Where are you landing this plane at? That you can't just like grab everyone else and then go wherever this rooftop apartment is. Because how does everyone else get there? And then Shaw comes in with the baby. Like everyone had time to like change. Everyone looks well rested. We were where were we? Because we were not in America a second ago. And it
No,
looks
we
like
were in
everyone's
Russia.
just like, what's up? That's right, Russia. We were in fucking Russia. Uh and you know, and then they're just like, "Hey Hobbs, your record is clean. You can go back to the FBI." No, thanks.
And they flew his kid out from presumably Los Angeles to meet him in New York. And his kid's there like, nah, you ain't doing that. And I'm like, what are you
Dad,
doing here,
don't.
kid? You don't need to be here.
Who are these guys? I don't know. I feel like that's just like a thing where people are like, who is that person? And like all the movies, because there's constantly new characters being like revealed, and then everyone's like, who is that? And they're like, that's Hobbs. He's cool. Or like, oh, that's Dominic. Like, what? But yeah, so then they like just bring the baby, and he's like, here's the package. How'd you know I would do it? Brotherhood. On God, brother. Slaps fist. Let me look at this baby. And then he walks over to Letty, and Dom and Letty are somehow coordinating colors with this baby. Like, they did look very, like, cohesive as a family, and she's just like, sweet. I remember how, like, a few days ago I was like, hey, what if you were a dad? I'm not pregnant, but what if you were a dad?
Right.
And so now he's like, I did it, and you didn't have to give birth. What's the baby's name? Brian. Like, that's very cute. I do really like that it's like, this is Brian, and everyone's like, oh, but like, Brian's not there to see your baby. I don't know. Because I feel like Mia and Brian would be like, oh shit, Dom has a kid. Let's go see it.
Right. And you named the baby. You named the baby after your friend who's not dead, and we don't see a lot, or we don't see ever again. Like I get what the sentiment was, but it just seemed like really weird. Like I'm gonna name him after my best friend who's still alive. So I don't know.
I wish he was here to witness my baby.
Right.
I'll FaceTime him later. Like, does Brian and Mia ever supposedly see this baby? I don't know.
Mia
Anyways.
does.
Okay.
And
I wasn't sure, because if, like, she just, like, comes and does her thing, but they're just like, oh, we've got a babysitter, so we're going on missions.
Yeah, presumably Brian does too, but I mean, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah.
So,
How many families do you think were set in this?
oh man, I don't even know how many families were said in this movie.
17.
That's it?
That's last week was literally like 10, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Let me see. Am I wrong? Yeah, last week was 10.
Man, I thought last week was more family oriented.
Yeah, this one was crazy.
Well,
I didn't have number 6 written down. Shoot. But Chris and I have, yeah. He'll get like super into the movie and I'll be like, dude. And he's like, oh shit. Does the little tally mark. Okay.
so
But yeah, that was
so
an interesting.
I think that this movie, like of the new era of the Fast movies, I think this one was probably the one where the audience was like, this movie wasn't as well received as the previous ones, and I can kind of see why now after watching
Yeah.
it again, because coming off the heels of 7, and we gave Brian such a good send off. We had a perfect chance to end the franchise, and we didn't. And I know it's
Yeah.
all about that money because I'm sure the studio would have rebooted it or something, you know, because the
Well,
last movie made $1.5 billion at the box office. So there was no way that was going to be our last one.
Jesus.
But
Yeah.
it should have been. Because, I mean, I remember when this came out and they were like, Fast 8 just doesn't do it.
Yeah. That's when they should have just done the like spin off and then like, I don't know, maybe taken it in a different direction of some form and not just necessarily been like the Fast and Furious that continues, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well. All right. Well, I said all that I got to say about some Fast and Furious. You got anything else you want to say before we move on?
I just want to remind you people that everyone talked shit on Tokyo Drift, but let's be real, this one's worse than Tokyo Drift. Anyways,
Ooh, big words.
ooh,
I agree with you.
I love to talk my shit.
Yep. Say it with your whole chest. Uh, all right, let's move on to my favorite part of the week. Where we are thankful, where we talk about things we're thankful for, the little things that made us happy. Raven, please tell me what has made you happy this week.
It's I don't even really know. To be honest, we usually get like really busy on the weekends, and this weekend I was like, nope, we're gonna have just like a nice little time. So we really just chilled out at the apartment for the most part, and that's honestly just like sometimes you just need that. I know that the time change has happened and now it's gonna throw everyone's sleep schedule off, but I had some time to rest. It was good. And I was very thankful to just, you know, have that. So that's really just what made me happy this week. What about you? What
Uh,
you got going?
I'm going to ask you a question real quick. Do you know what the name of my bulldog is?
You mean Sasha?
Yes, Sasha.
What?
It has become a running joke in my house that my father cannot remember nor pronounce Sasha's name.
Is that surprising to you? In the
No,
least bit?
no, not really. But it has become such a thing that Amy has just she got in the car Friday afternoon and when I picked her up from school and she started chuckling to herself. I'm like, "What's up?" She goes, "How's Sosha?" I'm like, and she starts giggling. I'm like, "You know what? Hold on a second." So we call my dad up and he answers the phone and I'm like, "Hey, you're on speakerphone. Amy's in the car. I want you to tell me what my bulldog's name is." And he goes, Sochi? And me and Amy
Man.
just start dying. And he's like, Sushi.
I
Um,
was just about to say, man, I love your dog Sushi.
right. And then he's like starts going through the list, and Yvette's in the background is like, it's Sasha, and he's like, oh, yeah, Sasha. Like he's trying to pronounce Japanese, and I'm like, yes, it's Sasha. And then he says
What?
something, and it dawns on me that he's never met anybody named Sasha. I don't think he's ever heard that name before. Because he
That's
says something
insane.
like, why's your dog named a weird name? I'm like, Sasha is not a weird name.
Actually, I feel like Sasha is kind of a normal name for like pets.
That's what I think too, but, I've met people named Sasha, um,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, I've met all different types of people in my travelings through the world. And but Sasha, for him just to be flummoxed by this name was the absolute funniest thing. Me and my kid were almost in tears giggling. And it was just like, rah, rah. You know how he gets whenever he gets flustered.
Oh, of
Uh,
course. Absolutely. How am I supposed to remember your dog's name?
not,
I've seen it like, I don't know.
if I bring the dog over to his house, he's just like, so, like he's trying to say it right, but he knows he's going to mess it up. He's like, Sosha, calm down. And my dog's going crazy. She's just like, people. Uh,
Oh, of course.
oh,
At her age, as a bulldog, nah,
dude, I'm
unstoppable.
so mad at this dog. We gave her a bath today because she was apparently playing in the mud, chasing the other dogs along the fence line, having the time of her
Heck yeah.
life. And we're like, cool, let's just go ahead and give you a bath. So we gave her a bath. We put her outside when she got done because, we wanted to like let her get some sun, let her dry off a little bit. 2 minutes later, I heard the other dog bark and I heard her bark, and I'm like, oh shit, she's getting dirty again. She came up to the back door covered. I'm like, you shitbag. And she's looking at me with that dumb bulldog face, that one brain cell fighting for dominance.
Yeah.
Just, hey.
Hey, will you break out the water hose? That'd be so fun right now.
Right. That turd.
Ah, good old little Szechuan. She's so cute. I'm just gonna start calling your dog whatever now.
That's fine. That's fine. So, all right, Raven, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you on the social medias?
You can find me over on Twitter at spooky_raven or on Instagram at that's so Raven Ellis. Also, I fully deactivated my Facebook account
Ooh.
because I hate Facebook so much. And let me tell you, it took Chris and me like 20 minutes to figure out how to actually do it because it was ridiculous. And it was like, yeah, here's 5 or 6 different ways that you can do it. Try and figure it out. And I was like, I don't want to download the stupid app. And I downloaded the app and I was like, I hate it here. Of course, Facebook would be like, no, you can't make it easy. We want to keep them forever in the meta. Anyways, so
Yep.
you cannot find me on Facebook. Say it with my chest. But you can find Nerd for No Reason, the podcast. That's us. This the little show that you're listening to currently. You can find us on a lot of different social medias. Just stick your little feelers and go out there and be like, are they hanging out here? Yep, that's us. Mark, what about you? Where you're located?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, and the other one that I'm missing, at Turtles Do It. Because that's my handle, and I think it's funny. So,
That's my handle. Don't wear it out.
no. So yeah, check us out there. Everybody, thank you for listening. Listen, I love this. This is great. This has been, honestly, I'm surprised we talked this long about this movie. Because I really thought this was going to be like a 30-minute episode and we were going to be like, bam, bam, done. No, we didn't. So,
Hey, there's still some craziness out there
I think
going on in that realm of
9 and
the
10,
fate.
9 and 10 are definite. Like they pick up a lot. So,
Okay.
I think 9 will be more fun because there's a very famous scene in that movie that we will absolutely talk about and just rail against. And 10 is just absurdity. So, yeah, the next 2 weeks are going to be super fun. And then I guess we might have to discuss whether or not if we're going to do Hobbs and Shaw.
Fair.
So, the spin-off movie starring The Rock and Jason Statham.
Yeah.
So, breaking news.
Oh.
As we record this, the Oscars are airing right now. And winner of Best Animated Feature Film goes to The Boy and the Heron.
Heck yeah.
So,
way to go, Miyazaki.
And for some reason, John Cena is butt naked walking out onto the Oscars. I don't know what this is because my volume is down, and it is crazy. And apparently, I don't know what's going on. I got some stuff to watch. We'll talk about it next week on the Nerd for No Reason podcast. Go and do something wonderful in the world today.
You guys go enjoy the Oscars, I guess, and we'll see you again next week at the Nerd for No Reason podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Nerd for No Reason podcast. You can find us on all major social media platforms at Nerd for No Reason. Our podcast music is Memories in 8-Bit by Deanna Joan, aka Fergie's Human. You can follow her on Twitter at Deanna Joan Music and check out her other social media links in the show notes of our podcast.